All right. Hello, everyone. I can see people slowly dropping in. I know you just finished the previous presentation with Nina and Adrina. So I hope you're all excited for this presentation on mechanical engineering. So we'll just give all of you a few minutes just to get settled, maybe grab a coffee or glass of water, and then we'll get started. I'll just start sharing my presentation now. All right, I hope you can all hear me and that you can all see me. I hope that you're here for the presentation on mechanical engineering, because that's what we are doing right now. Okay. So I think I will just slowly get started. I will introduce myself first. My name is Katrina. I work at the Aarhus University International Center. And joining me today, more importantly, is Rojin from India. Maybe Rojin, you can just say hi quickly. Good wave. We have about 45 minutes to an hour today. I will give you a brief introduction to the program structure, a bit information about mission requirements, and a few other helpful facts. And then Rojin will do a presentation, a student perspective on studying mechanical engineering. And then finally, we have time for Q&A. There is a Q&A function in Zoom, so if you can use that to write your questions, that would be great. I recommend that you just watch the presentation and we'll finish that, and then you can ask your questions afterwards. Once we finish this presentation, I'll send you an email with a link so you don't have to take too many notes. You can just download the presentation. We probably won't have time to do it this week, but then you'll get the email next week. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, I definitely recommend that you do this. I'll send you a link to the newsletter as well. So a few quick facts about mechanical engineering. First of all, it's located at the campus that we call Navitas. There's a picture of the main building here in the background. It's a beautiful brand new building. It's right on the water. You can see a few harbor items like in the background. And it's really nice. And it's also just right in the middle of the city center. So to the cathedral, there's about a 5-minute walk if you walk slowly. So I'll probably say like a 2 or 3 minute walk. About 70 students study in the program every year. So it's a fairly small program, I think, where everybody knows each other. Rojin, I hope you agree with that. About 10% of the students that we admit every year are international. We obviously hope to grow that number and have more and more international students from all over the world. The program is 2 years full-time, and during those 2 years, you gain 120 ECTS. So not all of you might know the ECTS credit system, but generally you take 30 ECTS per semester, 60 ECTS per year, and then in 2 years you'll have obtained 120 ECTS. All right. I see a few more people joining us. That's really great. If you weren't with us from the beginning, my name is Katrina. I'm from Aarhus University, and joining us is also Rojin, who just graduated this summer. So we're really happy to have Rojin give us a student perspective. But for now, I'll just continue with the program structure. So with all our engineering programs at the university, we have a very similar structure where you have 4 semesters. And the first 2 semesters, you do a mix of compulsory courses and specialized courses. Then for the 3rd semester, you have electives. And for the final and 4th semester, you do your thesis. So I'll just mention now the compulsory courses and during the autumn semester. So some of you here today might be interested in starting in January. Your first semester would be the spring semester. And then you would be doing thermodynamics, applied innovation in engineering, and mechanical vibrations. In addition to that, you will be doing elective courses, and I'll get back to those, or specialized courses. Then the second semester, again, if you start in the winter, that would be continuum mechanics for solids, fluid dynamics, and optimization algorithms and programming. Okay, so these are the specializations or the electives. So I'm not going to list all of them, but I'll just leave the slide here for a second. And perhaps, Rodin, I don't know if you remember, but perhaps you can mention which courses you did and if there's anything else you'd like to say about the courses.
Yeah, so for example, I took up the energy conversion technology and the renewables and also fluid dynamics.
Was there any particular course that you liked, or you have a favorite that you can recommend?
Yeah, I really did like the renewable energy. It was completely different from what my perspective was. It was a lot of really cutting edge technology and state-of-the-art research. Like the researchers in renewable energy in our department is probably one of the best in Europe.
Cool, thank you. I hope that you see something to your interest here. Definitely a lot of different directions to go in. And as Rodin said, obviously, sustainability and renewable energy is what some of the stuff that we do really well here at Aarhus University. So this is just an example of what your semester might look like. And again, you have a lot of opportunities to mix and match courses. But your semester one could look something like this, where you have, again, a mix of mandatory courses and elective courses or specializations. And what we've shown here in this presentation is renewable energy, because of course that's very popular. Semester two, again, a mixture of mandatory courses and then elective courses or a specialization. The third semester is where you have really even more choice or even more options. There are so many ways to combine or put together your third semester. So this is just an example. But one example is that you can do an elective such as sustainable design and production. That would be 10 ECTS, and that would leave 20 ECTS to do an R&D project. And this R&D project, so R&D is research and development, just in case you don't know. And this project can be carried out with a research group at the university or in collaboration with an industrial partner. So maybe, Rodin, did you do an R&D project while you were studying?
Well, I did a specialization project, and that was continued with my thesis. And it was a collaboration between the university and a few other industrial partners.
Perfect. So maybe, can you say a bit more about this project and about your thesis?
Yeah, so my thesis was basically the development of a new kind of heat pumps that works on CO2. And it was done in collaboration with the Danish Technical Institute, the refrigeration company called Danfoss, and a few other companies from Finland and also from Germany. Yeah.
Very cool. That's a really great example of what it's possible to do, both an R&D project and your thesis, which is, again, also done in collaboration with a research group, and then possibly, if you're interested, also in collaboration with local business or more than one local business partner, or even an international. So you got everything covered. So generally about teaching, depending on which university you're from or which country you're from, it might be very different here at Aarhus University. It might also be very similar. Teaching at Aarhus University is done by active researchers. So that means that everyone, all the professors that you'll meet here at the university has a PhD and they're doing active research. That means a really, really high quality of teaching. And also you are getting input from current research as well. The style is very We call it Scandinavian. You could call it a Nordic teaching style. It's very informal. So for instance, in class, you would call your professor by their first name. I know, Virginia, you had some experience with that, and you found that interesting at first. Maybe do you want to share?
Yeah, because like in India, we always call professor as a teacher or sir. And then like when I moved to Denmark, it was like, okay, you have to call everyone by their first name, and uh, they're like the senior professors, and you can't really I couldn't do it at the first instance, but it slowly grew on me.
Good. So the format, again, it's a mixture of a lot of different things. So you'll be attending lectures with a lot of students. You'll have small seminars with maybe only 5, 10, or 20 students. So that's a bit more of an intimate setting. You'll have lab work. And then I think importantly, you also spend a lot of time with your study group. So that's a group of 3 or 4 people that you meet and study with. So you can do a project with them, and you can just discuss whatever assignments you have or what you did in class. Virginia, do you have any experience with a study group, and how would you kind of explain this concept?
Yeah, so for example, in applied innovation, we had a group of 4, and like since applied innovation is a course which has all the engineering departments together, you usually team up with people from different departments. So you kind of get a really good experience of how other departments think and how they go about solving the same problem. So we had a really cool project, and it was kind of it needed input from all kinds of engineering. But for the other courses, we usually had like people from our own class. We had like groups of 3 or 4. We usually met up at the library or stayed after school just to get through the assignments and stuff.
Very cool, yeah. And definitely, as you say, like it will help you get through a kind of tough program where you need to study a lot, and yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a friendly study group. Okay, so just a few facts about admission. If you're interested in starting this January, you can apply now actually. And the deadline is September 15th. If you're interested in starting this August, so that would be August 2022, the application is open from the 1st of November and then until the 15th of January. I think most of the students who are attending this presentation today are probably from outside the EU, and students from outside the EU are required to pay tuition. So the annual tuition is 14,500 euros, but we do have tuition waivers available for select top students. So I'll get back to that in a bit. The application fee, which all students have to pay, is 100 euros. If you are admitted and you start your studies, that amount will be refunded to you. So, admission requirements, also very important. So, most importantly, to get admitted to this program, you must have a bachelor's degree in engineering. So that would be 3 or 4 years degree, depending on where you're from and your home university. Then you must also provide an English language test, and you need to have a TOEFL score of 83 or an IELTS score of 6.5. There are some exceptions and other ways to fulfill this language requirement, but it's very detailed, and it's all online on our web. So we do have some quite specific admission requirements for mechanical engineering. So your bachelor's degree should preferably be in mechanical engineering or a related field. You will need to have 60 ECTS of mechanical engineering. And 60 ECTS is equivalent to 1 year full-time studies. Then in addition to that, you will need to have 20 ECTS of mathematics, and that should cover quite specific areas. So that would include calculus, equations, vector differential and vector integral integrations, and so on. So all of this you need to be able to document in order to be admitted to the program. So you don't need to have passed a course that's called calculus or ordinary differential equations, but these topics need to be covered in a math course that you did at your university. All right, that was my final slide. So I think I will let Rodin share his presentation. And then again, as mentioned, you can ask questions in the end.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, so good afternoon, guys. I'm gonna give you a student perspective about studying in Aarhus. So my name is Rojan, and I've done my master's in mechanical engineering. My focus was on fluid mechanics and heat transfer because my supervisor was also from this research group. And I was also a teaching assistant in thermodynamics. And I've been living in Denmark since August of 2019. So, and also if you guys want to contact me, you can use this email ID or connect on LinkedIn. So why did I choose Aarhus University? So first of all, it has a really good ranking when it comes to the global ranking of the universities in general and also in engineering. And the faculty over here is really cool and it's international. There's research in all kinds of areas and everyone is like really working day and night on their research. And in Denmark, there's a really good living standard. So you really feel safe in the city and it's pretty nice to just live in a really good city. And Aarhus has a really cool international community and the Danes here are also really lovely. And in comparison to Copenhagen, I see Aarhus as a better city in my perspective because it is a small city and it's close to the sea and there's a forest and everything is just close by. So I'll give you a brief idea about how a typical week is like. So you'll kind of have like 3 days of class, depending on how many lectures you take on. And it usually is like a half-day lecture per course. And the professors are super friendly and you can always just ask them doubts and stuff. And the thing is they have an open door policy and they'll have like a particular hour in their office where you can just knock on the door and then go in and ask some questions. And when it comes to the courses, some courses will have like 50% of the grade coming from group work or assignments. And this is usually done in groups by meeting up at the library with your study group. And since Aarhus is a really small city, you can basically reach anywhere by cycle. And that would be the recommended mode of transportation. And given all this work in a week, you still have time for hobbies and stuff. So, and there's like lots of clubs and communities in Aarhus where you can meet up with friends and just do some activities. So about the other stuff that I've done at AU, there's like I nights at the student house where it's like every other Tuesday night where you can meet other international students. And there's also, they also teach Danish for free at the student house. So you can meet other international students, and learning Danish is actually good for you because you get to see more of their culture and see more movies and understand, like to integrate more into the society. But like it's not mandatory because every Dane knows English really well. And you might be living in a dorm, and in dorms, common dinners are common and like they happen most of the week. And then you can just get to know people. And since Denmark is really accessible, you can have road trips with your friend and visit the different islands and different cities, and it's really beautiful. So when it comes to the academic side of things, so I did a thesis where I modeled a novel heat pump, and it was with the collaboration that I mentioned earlier. And when it comes to course projects, you get really cool course projects where you can actually go to different industries and power plants right here in Aarhus and just learn more about it and work on the optimization and stuff like that. So my experience was like, I lived in a dorm in Risco. Risco is kind of a place which is like super close to the sea and the forest. It was really beautiful. And we had common dinners every week on Mondays. And then we also had a pool table and volleyball court. And everyone was like super friendly and you could just get along really well. And one other good thing is like, there's like really cool biking tracks where you can basically get to anywhere in Denmark, basically. So it's really cool to know that as well. And right now, since I'm graduated, I'm looking for jobs, and there's also like graduate programs, which are like some kind of programs, which is like a 2-year program for newly graduated students to get to know the company and also develop skills that are needed for the company. it's really competitive, but in Denmark, there's a lot of them and you will always find opportunities. So that's it from me. Now we can move on to the Q&A, I guess.
We have time for questions now. So if you have a question, feel free to write it in the Q&A. Virginia, I actually have a question for you now, just to kick us off. I was wondering, so I don't know this about you, and we haven't discussed this beforehand, but I was wondering if you have, do you have any plans, because you graduated this summer, do you know what you'll be doing?
Yeah, I actually have a few interviews lined up, and like one in Newborg and one in Copenhagen. So like it looks promising, and I'm also in talks with people from other universities regarding PhD. So I'll do something related to what I've done in my thesis.
Right. Well, congratulations. I look forward to following you and learning what you'll be doing.
Thank you.
I don't have a lot of questions coming in right now. Let me just see. So what I can also mention is that in about half an hour, I will be doing a presentation together with Nina on admission, where we'll talk more about scholarships and how you apply. So unless there are any other questions, I think we'll sign off for now, Virgin.
All right.
Oh, no, hold on. So we do have one question from one of the participants who writes, I have experience of over 10 years. Will I be a good fit? So I think I'll give my answer to that first, and then maybe Virgin, you can add some comments. So in order to get admitted, it's not a requirement and it's not an advantage to have work experience. So yeah, you're welcome. So you may be a good fit, but it really depends on whether you will be able to live up to the admission requirements. So those were the ones that we just covered, where you need to have a background, a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and also have passed specific courses in mechanical engineering and mathematics. And maybe, Virginia, I'll let you add to this, how would a background with like 10 years experience, how would that fit into the study program?
Yeah, once all the bachelor requirements are fulfilled, I believe that having an experience is like going to be really helpful, because once you start looking for jobs, they would love to have someone with job experience as well. So it's always really good to have that, but it also depends on how well you can do the bachelor requirements. And there's going to be people who have a lot of experience. Like I had people in my batch who had like 12 years of experience. They did their bachelor's in AU and they went and worked for like 10 years and they came back to do a master. So it's not really a problem to apply, but if all the requirements are fulfilled, then it's going to be really good.
Thank you. Very good point. All right. I see one more question. That was just Syed saying thank you and you're very welcome. I'm very happy that we could answer your question. I think we will sign off for now. Rodin, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing, and I look forward to staying in touch with you. Thanks everybody for joining us, and stick around for the next presentation on admission and also Dole's presentation on career opportunities in Denmark. Bye.
Bye-bye.